Good afternoon and welcome back to From the Wings. I'm Stephanie Freed and I'm so glad you're here with us today. I hope that you had a terrific holiday last week. I know for me it was really great to have a moment of, I'll say quiet, because it was definitely a smaller gathering, a moment of quiet to just take a minute and just reflect on everything for which I'm so grateful. Among that, of course, is all of you. Earlier this week, the Bushnell, in our gratitude, observed Giving Tuesday. And, folks gave, you guys showed up, and we're so appreciative for that. Every gift that was made on Giving Tuesday is just one step closer to ensuring that, the Bushnell has what we need to be able to make it through this time and be ready and prepared and good to open when the time is right and it's safe to do so. So thank you for that. And don't forget, though Giving Tuesday is past, our After the Clouds, the Sun campaign continues, and we hope that you'll choose to participate, whether now or as we move through this fiscal year. So before we begin today's episode, I would like to recognize Webster Bank, our official presenter of the From the Wings series. We're so grateful to Webster Bank for their loyal and generous support today and always. So thank you, Webster Bank. A couple of weeks ago, just about 2 weeks ago, we announced that the remainder of our previously scheduled 2021 Broadway season has been postponed. I'm sure that each of you, like us, were disappointed, but not surprised to hear this update. The good news, and I really do try to focus on the good news, is that all of these shows, they will come. They're not cancellations. They're just, we'll see you later. We anticipate that we will feature each of these shows once we are back and it's safe for you to join us in the theaters. And while none of us knows with certainty exactly yet when that time is that we're opening, I have to say it sure does feel like we're getting closer. The news around vaccines, news around, the planning that's happening. I definitely, for me personally, feel like I see a light that maybe I haven't seen as brightly until now. So we're hopeful that we're going to be able to announce new dates for all of those postponed shows very soon, imminently even. And if you, like me, are working on your holiday gift list, we have some fun ideas to suggest. First, we recently, just this past Monday actually, launched our Bushnell swag store, where you can purchase gifts for the Broadway lover, or maybe it's a Bushnell lover in your life. You can see it there on your screen now. There are tons of options and several designs. You can do hoodies, you can do t-shirts. You'll see further down, there are mugs. This Bushnell ladies shirt might be my favorite one. I love the acrostic Bushnell going top to bottom with those leading ladies. And that art that you see right now, that's our ghost light design. And you'll notice it features a design of the ghost light, which we've talked a lot about during this time, but it also has evocative imagery from our mural. So I particularly love that one if you have someone in your life who really loves the Bushnell. And the funnest is a word thing, if we can go back up, Taylor, the t-shirt, the leading ladies t-shirt, the back of it says, "And Peggy." It's tough to see in that little itty bitty image, but if we click on and go through, we can see. So it's these great names, right? And then the back of the shirt, "And Peggy." I love that. I love that. It still cracks me up. I've been listening to Hamilton for years and that still cracks me up. But anyway, we have lots of options, different colors, different sizes, different apparel types. If you have a runner in your life, a female runner perhaps, the women's racerback tank with those leading ladies' names on it, that's a powerful gift for that Broadway loving runner in your life. So I encourage you to check it out. The link is on our social media, and I think we'll be able to put it up here on the screen too by the end of today's broadcast. So check that out. And additionally, if you're really looking to wow that Broadway fan in your life, we have some fun mini subscription packages that are designed to speak to those different folks, from a leading ladies package to an around the world package. There's lots of cool ways to think about mini subscriptions. So that's a minimum of 4 shows, but you choose them. And between the shows we have remaining from the 1920 season to the shows that were intended for 2021, but we're going to experience a little later because of the pandemic, you've got a really nice selection to put a package together. You can create your own, or as you'll see in just a minute with a video, we have some fun theme ideas. So if we can go ahead and roll that video. I know which of those packages I'm looking at, and don't tell anyone, but I suspect there are going to be a number of the t-shirts and sweatshirts we saw in the Bushnell swag store under my tree this year. So let's get down to today's conversation. I know we're all looking forward to it, and I'd like to welcome back, it's our first repeat guest here on From the Wings, Ric Waldman, our Vice President of Programming. Welcome, Ric.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello.
Hey, it's
Hello,
so good
everyone.
to see you.
I feel like Steve Martin is the first repeat host on Saturday Night Live.
Right, right. When you're here 5 times, 5 visits, just like Steve Martin, you're going to get a smoking jacket and a special lounge. It'll be great. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was delightful, small, but we have my immediate family, my son and daughter-in-law are with us for an extended period, and we're enjoying the time together.
That's so great. It's, I think so much is challenging about this time, but for many of us, the ability to be close with our family when normally life is so hectic and chaotic and people are in different places, to kind of hunker down together has been a gift. For
sure. And we're 1-1 in Trivial Pursuit. Rematch tonight. The rubber game is tonight.
Oh no! Which version are you playing?
Oh God, we go back to the Genus edition, I think.
Yep.
It's sad that they haven't updated it. Real shame, because of course we're different generations, so the kids always claim they're both in their 30s, and they always claim it's unfair because the questions are skewed. The version we play is skewed to a lot of stuff from the early 90s. When they were just little kids.
Right. I'm waiting for them to do a Hamilton version. Like they have a Harry Potter version of Trivial Pursuit. I can imagine a Hamilton version of Trivial Pursuit. Pretty great. So we are here today, me and you, to talk about Broadway. So let's start with, we made that announcement. Where are we today? What's the situation? What do we know?
So what I can tell you is that we're still in the rescheduling period, but things are starting to fall in place. And I really like the way you said there's a lot to be positive about. For the longest time, there was so much uncertainty that it was really hard to talk about any programming, especially Broadway. But there does seem to be some clarity around a late summer, early fall return to touring Broadway. There's a big difference, and we talked about this last time. There's a big difference between actual Broadway in New York and touring Broadway. And it's actually easier for lots of reasons to think about touring Broadway resuming and returning to normal faster than Broadway does. Broadway will get back in business. People may have seen the announcement just the other day that Hamilton has announced I think it's a July 1 reopening, with the assumption that there will still be social distancing restrictions. But the producers of that show have the luxury of having made so much money over the first 5 or 6 years of the show's run that they can actually afford to sort of be take a lead position in resuming Broadway. But New York Broadway will face other challenges, particularly in regards to the return of tourists,
Sure.
which make up such a large percentage of theater goers. The road is different. And for the shows that are produced and already on the road, resuming touring is a lot easier to think about. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and you need to back up several months from the beginning of a tour to start to plan for it. And of course, that gets you into a period where you're doing things like rehearsals during COVID. How do you do that? And it is complicated. But there is now clarity around a return of touring Broadway in late summer, early fall, which is where we're scheduled. We're actually now targeting a sort of early October return of Broadway programming. And then, as you mentioned, over the course of the next 2 seasons, all of the shows that have been postponed, with the exception of 2 cancellations, one, help me out.
There was Cher and
the Cher show, of course. The Cher show, which will probably be remounted at some point, but they haven't planned it yet. Okay. And then the other one was Wicked, which we had scheduled. Producers haven't been able to fit it into our routing yet, but we'll get it eventually.
Sure. So,
but all the other shows will take place over the course of the next 2 full seasons. So by the end of the 22-23 season, we will have caught up. Next year will be mostly a catch-up year. With no new subscription package. So those wonderful mini sub packages that you put together will carry us actually through for the next couple of years. And then in the following season, that 22-23 season, is when we will see a return to a full slate of new shows, probably a 7-show subscription package, along with the few remaining replacement shows. And of course, the dates that we get for the replacement that's the real challenge right now, is just the fact that all of these shows had been routed all over the country, part of the year on the West Coast, part on the East Coast. And when we had to start over, of course, the challenge, it falls on the Broadway booking agents to reroute all the shows. Right. So as much as we tried to take the shows that we had postponed and get them, to Hartford in the next year, some of them had to bleed over into the following year. And, that work is still in process, which is why we're not quite ready to announce the actual dates. The agents have assured me that they hope to have all routing wrapped up by the end of December. So we hope that before the first of the year, we'll be able to announce our dates. And of course, that is all contingent on things resuming, as we hope, in the fall. If it's delayed further, of course, it changes everything.
Sure. I hadn't heard that about Hamilton. That is indeed good news. Like that July 1, I recognize it's just the beginning of December, but man, July 1 doesn't feel that far away to me.
It doesn't. Yeah, some other good news I can share. Just today, Phantom announced, Andrew Lloyd Webber announced he's opening Phantom in London in July. Okay. And Moulin Rouge is opening in Sydney, Australia in August.
Okay.
And for all of us, I think what that represents, it's great news, right?
Yes,
those are resuming, not just in, there's been lots of focus of Phantom in South Korea, where because of terrific public health policies and adherence, they've actually been able to run the show with just 1-2 week break early on in the pandemic. It's been running straight through. But it's good to see in other parts of the world a return to live theater. And I think, the biggest hurdle of all, obviously we've got the COVID hurdle, the decisions that we all have to make. But the biggest hurdle will be among our audiences when they feel comfortable to return. And of course, you can comment on that from the survey work that you've been doing about what it is that we can expect from our audiences. What are you hearing from the latest rounds of the survey?
What I'm seeing, we historically, so the survey that Ric's referencing for those watching live now it's a longitudinal study that we're doing along with many, many, many other performing arts centers, both around the country, as well as there are cohorts around the world. And some of you may have participated in this, but it explores attitudes around lots of things. But one segment of it is specifically comfort in returning to the theater, what you're looking for, how you feel about it based on different venues, an outdoor venue versus an indoor venue, a concert venue versus a theater space. So concert meaning like open flat floor space versus a theater like our Morton Center, our Belding Theater. Lots of variables, again, lots of how many people are allowed in. I would say that since the beginning, Connecticut audiences, our audiences, are far more conservative and I think hesitant to jump right back in the pool. They want to understand, okay, what are the protocols? What are we doing? And we have a team working hard on that to ensure that we're creating the most comfortable, safest environment we're able to. But it is evolving. Folks are becoming more comfortable. I think, outdoor dining and different things that have happened in some places they've happened successfully. I think people are starting to get their arms around the idea of returning, but there is an expectation of following the protocols. I think if I look at our colleagues in Florida, and I look at just their results, those attitudes they're meaningfully different than the attitudes here in Connecticut. So, but people are interested. There is a strong desire to return. Just there's an expectation that it will be done safely.
One of the most exciting pieces of the survey results that you've shared is the number of people who express the idea that during the pandemic, they have come to see how much theater meant to them, was part of their lives, and that they actually anticipate coming more often when it's safe to return than they had in the past. That bodes well. That means that we can start to think about a time when, let's face it, we were in the midst of a great run of terrific shows, and a season lined up with Hamilton coming back and other terrific titles. Goodness, Dear Evan Hansen still hasn't played, and that's been really well subscribed for the months that we've had it on sale. It is really fun to think about us all being back at the theater and enjoying all those wonderful shows that we've got on the lineup.
And you bring up a good point, Rick, when you talk about subscription. I continue to be amazed and grateful and proud of the way our subscribers have held strong with us. They are standing beside us, waiting for us to reopen and for these shows to return. And I think it is testament to the value that they have, the value of the Bushnell in their eyes. I think it's also that, we've continued to communicate, these shows are coming. So they're holding on. They're ready for Dear Evan Hansen. They want to be back in the theater. Our volunteers want to be back in. They can't wait for shows like Hadestown, which we see on our screen now, Band's Visit to come. There's so many stories to tell. And you're right, like that, I think people are coming to even more deeply appreciate and understand that shared experience and how much that means to us.
For me personally, so there's such a cumulative effect of, the part of my job that I enjoy the most is the fact that, I'm blessed. I get to see these shows when they open in New York. So, a show like Hadestown, I saw it now, 3 years ago when it opened. And I've been waiting all this time to share it with the community, to share it with our subscribers and theater goers here in Hartford, knowing that, the experience I got to have, we'll get to have as a community. And now we've got this accumulation of so many great shows lined up, ready to go. It is going to be a fun time when we're finally back.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually something I wanted to ask you about. So there were shows that were already in process. We're getting ready to go on the road, or we're already on the road. Are you seeing an energy and an excitement for what's coming next? Meaning, what's coming next to Broadway, knowing that what comes next to Broadway is what comes next to
I made some notes on the shows that I wanted to share. Some that were either just in previews or just about to open, that would have been the shows that we're all talking about now, the ones up for the awards this season and such. But the shows that I've been excited to see, and none of these I've seen yet, but Music Man, which was just in previews.
Hugh Jackman, right?
Hugh Jackman, right. the Michael Jackson musical, which was about to go in previews in Chicago, I think, and had to cancel. But that's with Chris Wheeldon directing. Hartford folks know Chris because he was the director of An American in Paris, which we were a co-producer of.
Is he choreographing it as well?
He's directing it. He's directing
he's only
and
direct.
yeah.
Oh, he's doing both.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Diana, a musical that has been running in London and scheduled to open. It had been scheduled for opening and hopefully will open right away. I don't know about you, but really got hooked on The Crown this year.
Yes,
and of course, Diana is actually being recorded and will be available on Netflix, which raises that interesting question about the number of shows, what the Constitution means to me included, that people will get a chance to see on television, the theatrical production on TV before it comes to the Bushnell. Because we always, we ask ourselves, and it's an interesting topic. Does that increase people's desire to see the live performance? Or when you've seen it on TV, do you say, I got to see it, I don't need to see it live? I'm always going to hold out the proposition, because it's been true for as long as I've worked in theater, that our highest value proposition is that seeing performers live, seeing performers lay it all on the line in front of you, the chance for things to go horribly wrong, that audiences have been valuing that experience for literally thousands of years. And movies came along and TV came along and streaming comes along, and there are always people who say, it's going to be the death of live theater. It never has been. And I actually think, having been away from theater for the last year, is going to all the more remind people of the value not only of seeing live performance, but seeing it in a shared environment. Feeling, I've referenced this before, but for our audience who were there for Come From Away at the Bushnell, a show that really is all about community.
Yes.
The value of seeing that with surrounded by strangers, I mean, as opposed to sitting in your living room, and yes, you get to enjoy it. And, we've all got our, big TVs and great sound systems. So sure, it's a terrific experience, but it's not the same experience. And
it's that tightrope walk, right? Because at any minute, it could all fall apart.
Yeah,
sure. And there is a energy to that. And you're right. Like with Come From Away, I remember seeing that, and I hadn't seen it before it came to the Bushnell. And I was up in the mezzanine, and that was really the first time that, probably since 2002 or so, that I could go all the way back to that day. I could go all the way back to how I felt. And I knew that everyone around me was there too. And that it was, that you're right. That show, in many shows, you can create that same feeling together.
For the people who are viewing today, I will share a little tidbit of information that from the day that show ended its run in Hartford, I was on the phone with the agent saying, we've got to bring it back as soon as we can. So we do have plans to bring that show back quite soon.
Okay. So sooner than later.
Sooner than later.
Well, that actually brings me to another question I had for you. I feel like you must be really hard at work looking forward, because while they're trying to make up the tours, they're trying to make up this sort of lost year. They're also, you're always planning forward, but I have to imagine that there's a flurry of, okay, what's next? Trying to get that all done.
So, and a lot of it still now is, shows that were scheduled would have been in next season, but are pushed off for the following season. So that's happening. Let me finish my list of shows that will open on Broadway and that will get in our cycle, because I'm excited about a lot of them. Mrs. Doubtfire, which I think will be a fun show. Couple of the last three were all terrific movies. Some of my favorite movies. Sing Street. Do you know the movie?
I don't.
Sing Street was a wonderful small story about a group of friends in Dublin, young kids growing up, and their life was pretty tough, but they discovered a love of music together and formed a band, and you follow their story. It's just a delightful story. Almost Famous, the story about a young music writer.
Kate Hudson.
Got hired to write for Rolling Stone, and then The Devil Wears Prada, with music by Elton John.
I think my husband is so sick of me watching that movie. Now I can just get a cast album and play that all the time. That'll be great.
Yep. Secret pleasure sharing too much. I love the movie. I think I watched it on the airplane the first time.
Meryl Streep is amazing. So good. I wonder who they'll cast. Had they already cast?
It has been cast. I can't do it. I know the actress.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, sure. You can. I saw the actress and I didn't know her, but can't do it. Anyway, so yes, I mean, those shows all need to do their Broadway runs before they're ready to go out on the road. But of course, those will be the shows that, for me, the cycle starts with just seeing them on Broadway, see how they resonate, which ones do well, do they win awards, or will they even be mounted for road tours? That hasn't been decided yet. But that's the process that takes place over typically a 3-4 year period before they make their way onto our calendar.
Okay. Yeah, it's when I think about what's out there, what was out there before we went into quarantine, and then what's coming, am I right that like sort of the big blockbusters that are out there, Hamilton, Wicked, Frozen,
Lion King,
are those still, are you thinking kind of the anchor big shows?
Yes. So, the talk all along in the industry has been that those shows would be the leaders in returning to the road, in part because they're all playing multiple weeks in a city. And so there's just less travel. So for a show, during COVID, for a show to be on the road, they have to be protecting the crew and cast, which means, basically setting up housing and, food and of course a safe environment at theaters. It was easier to think about doing it in chunks of like 3 or 4 weeks rather than traveling from city to city, which is, those are the 1 week runs. Those are most of the runs that we get are the 1 week shows. So those blockbusters were scheduled to go out. Originally, there was talk of them going out in April. I can tell you, none of those happened to fall into our cycle. We lost Wicked and Hamilton got pushed to later. So it wasn't going to affect us, but I can tell you that some of those optimistic plans about starting them in April are now being pushed back toward the summer. So I think probably by June, we'll start to see some of those big shows resume road touring. And of course, that will give us all the indication of whether or not it is in fact safe to resume programming in the fall.
Right. So how long ahead of like the beginning of a tour are they reconvening the cast to rehearse? Are they? Yeah,
it's going to have to start soon. And I can tell you a lot of the challenges have to do with things like, there's still contract negotiations going on about, what kind of safety protocols are being put in place for rehearsal. But, almost all the road shows, of course, the contracts expired for everyone on them. So it's not starting from scratch. Of course, the shows are designed, the sets are designed, but they have to either rehire or hire new people and go through the rehearsals. That needs to start right after the first of the year.
Right.
And I think that's, the plans are in place for that to begin so that we're ready for fall touring.
Right. Wow. It's so much, and I think about all these actors, these technicians that are just waiting for that return.
Oh gosh, the contrast between the number of people, the hundreds of thousands of people who work in the theater industry, who are literally just sidelined, just waiting for things to resume, trying to make it through, and then the producers who are responsible for the finances of things like putting together a 40-week tour of a major Broadway show is it's a major commitment, major financial commitment.
It is.
And for them to try to make it with any degree of risk built into it, it becomes such a difficult decision because let's face it, this is, this is an industry that lives, except for the occasional blockbusters, most shows live right on the margin. And that margin includes the kinds of sales that, we were used to before the pandemic. So to think about what's coming next it's hard.
Where we could sell sales, where we could sell every seat in our theater. That is part of the model, right? We're not modeled to sell 30%.
Exactly. I mean, that is
seat.
the absolute truth. With the extreme exception of Hamilton, which can afford to say, okay, we will do social distancing in the theater and sell half the inventory. Nothing else in the Broadway world, and frankly, nobody has even suggested that we could develop that model moving forward. It's again, because of the cost of producing shows and the cost for presenting them, the cost to the Bushnell. There's just no model that suggests that Broadway will be successful without a return to 100% capacity.
Right. Yeah. I'll say while the actors, while the technicians, while the producers, while the ushers, while the vendors around theaters in New York wait, so do we. We wait. And venues like the Bushnell, just a quick plug, and folks who are following us will likely have already seen this on our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram channels, but we are encouraged that in Connecticut, both of our senators as well as 4 of our 5 representatives are already demonstrating support for a component of some stimulus, some relief legislation that focuses specifically on venues like the Bushnell. It's called Save Our Stages. There are lots of pieces to this legislation designed to lift up and support individuals and small business. The Save Our Stages piece is specific to us. And, I'd like to encourage those watching to check it out. You can, find information about it again on our social channels or on our website.
And this is the time when, what is called on us to be a citizen. It's to express our true values to our congresspeople. And this is a great opportunity. It's a simple ask. Just remind your congresspeople, your local congressional representatives or senators, that theater matters to you, and Save Our Stages is something that you value and would like to see included in the larger CARES package.
Absolutely. Well, Ric, our time, I can't believe this, our time is up. It goes so fast every single time.
We had so many topics we could have gone to, but
right.
That will be for my return engagement, third return.
For your third visit, I'm actually going to preview that a little bit, because I'd like to kind of, and not to put you on the spot, but I'd like to sort of to say your third visit, I'd really love to talk with you about the digital projects. And there's one specifically that we're continuing to work on. We're not quiet at the Bushnell during this time. There is lots happening. And you have kind of some keen insight to stuff that you and your team are working on that I'd love to share with our viewers here. So I'm going to kind of lock you in for your third repeat visit, maybe early February.
Great. Yes. What I will say is that, this dark time has given us the opportunity to think about and imagine what programming in the future might look like. And folks who follow the Bushnell know we've got this keen interest in digital technology and how it is affecting the way we all are entertained. And there is this convergence of technology and live theater that has interested us for a while. And as I said, the pandemic has given us some time to play around a bit. So that's what I'll have to share next time we talk.
Terrific. I look forward to it. Until then, I'll see you.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for being with us. See ya. So, that was a lot, you guys. That was a lot, but I was so excited to hear. I did not know about that July 1 Hamilton announcement. So good news there. Before we go, I do want to take a quick minute to recognize our sponsors. During this extended intermission, the Bushnell depends on private support now more than ever. We're especially grateful for the continued commitment of Webster Bank and our intermission partners. On your screen are many of our current corporate and foundation supporters, and it's thanks to their generosity and the support, of course, of our individual donors that we're able to continue our work to bring the very best in arts education and the performing arts, both virtually and when the time is right, and it's safe to do so live on our stages and in classrooms. And of course, as we've discussed, support, private support, your support. is so important. I hope you'll consider making a gift to the Bushnell's annual fund. Whether you've already made one and you'd like to make a second, or this would be your first gift, we welcome any gift. They all matter, they all count, and they all make a difference in our ability to continue to present, create, inspire, and share the very best in the performing arts. If you'd like to make a gift, you can do so anytime, 24/7 at bushnell.org/donate now. And of course, a reminder, if you haven't already, sign up for our e-club, get all the most up-to-date information, our weekly curtain call emails, which keeps you connected to all that's good in the arts, both locally and around the world. And follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I hope you will join us for our very next episode of From the Wings on Thursday, December 17th, when my guest is none other than Bushnell President and CEO, Mr. David Arfay. And we're going to talk about what he sees as we move into spring and summer and then into the fall of 2021. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. But even more than that, I'm looking forward to being back here with you. So until next time, take good care.